Dude, you need to get out more. I looked up from my laptop where I'd been editing photos for the past 3 hours. My roommate, Casey, stood in the doorway of my room with that expression, the one that meant he was about to suggest something I absolutely didn't want to do. I go out, I protested weakly. Going to the corner store for energy drinks doesn't count as going out, Tyler. Casey walked in and sat on my bed, messing up my carefully arranged pillows. When's the last time you did something that didn't involve a screen? I went to dinner with you guys last week. Where you spent half the time on your phone. He wasn't wrong. Look, I'm worried about you. You broke up with Daniel 3 months ago and since then you've become a hermit. I'm processing, I said defensively. You're hiding, Casey corrected, which is why you're coming hiking with us this weekend. Absolutely not. Tyler, fresh air, nature, getting out of your head for 5 seconds, it'll be good for you. Who's us? Me, Emma, and Marcus. My heart did a weird little flip at Marcus's name, which was ridiculous because Marcus was straight, taken, and completely off limits, not to mention my friend. Marcus is bringing his girlfriend, I asked, trying to sound casual. They broke up last month, actually. She moved to Boston for work. It was mutual, but I think he's been kind of down about it, which is another reason you should come. Misery loves company and all that. I should have said no. I had a million reasons to say no. I had work to do, photos to edit, a comfortable routine to maintain. Going on a weekend camping trip with my ex-roommate Casey, his girlfriend Emma, and Marcus, the guy I'd been harboring an embarrassing crush on for the past year, was a terrible idea. What kind of hiking? I asked, already knowing I was going to cave. Casey grinned. Just overnight. There's this trail about 2 hours north, Blue Ridge Summit. 8 miles in, we camp at the lake, 8 miles back out the next day. Super manageable. Emma's already planning the most elaborate camping menu you've ever seen. I don't have gear. Marcus has extra. He's got like 3 of everything because he's obsessed with trying out different equipment. Of course he did. Marcus was one of those people who got really into his hobbies, completely, obsessively into them. Last year it had been rock climbing, before that photography, which is how we'd bonded initially. Now apparently it was camping and hiking. Fine, I sighed, but if I die on this mountain I'm haunting you. Deal, we leave Saturday at 6 a.m. 6, Casey, that's inhuman. That's nature, baby. He left before I could throw a pillow at him. After he was gone, I sat there staring at my laptop screen, wondering what I just agreed to. A weekend in the wilderness with Marcus. Great, just great. Let me tell you about Marcus and why this was such a catastrophically bad idea. Marcus Chen was 27, worked as a software engineer for a tech company downtown, and was possibly the most effortlessly charming person I'd ever met. He had this way of making everyone around him feel like they were the most interesting person in the room. He was tall, athletic in that natural way some people are without trying too hard, with dark hair that was always slightly messy, and these warm brown eyes that crinkled when he smiled. We'd met about 18 months ago when Casey moved in with me. Marcus was Casey's college friend and he'd helped with the move. I'd immediately developed what I thought was a harmless crush, you know, the kind you have on someone attractive and nice but completely unavailable. I figured it would fade. It had not faded. Instead, as Marcus became a regular fixture in our friend group, the crush had grown into something more substantial. I learned that he was funny and kind and thoughtful, that he remembered small details about people, that he had strong opinions about the correct way to make coffee and would argue passionately about it, that he volunteered at an animal shelter every other weekend, that when he talked about things he cared about, his whole face lit up. And yes, he was straight, very straight. He'd dated his girlfriend Sarah for 2 years. They'd seemed happy. I'd been so careful to keep my feelings hidden. I'd dated other people, including Daniel, who I'd genuinely liked even if the spark hadn't been quite right. I'd maintained appropriate boundaries. I'd been a good friend. But the idea of spending a whole weekend in close proximity to Marcus, sharing a campsite, probably sharing a tent knowing Casey and Emma would want privacy, my carefully maintained boundaries were about to be tested. Saturday morning came too early. I dragged myself out of bed at 5:30, threw my borrowed camping gear into Casey's car, and tried to wake up with the largest coffee I could make. Marcus pulled up just as we were finishing loading the car. He climbed out of his Jeep wearing hiking boots, worn jeans, and a fitted navy t-shirt that should have been illegal. His hair was adorably messy, and he had his sunglasses pushed up on his head. "Morning," he called out, far too cheerful for 6 a.m. "Everyone ready for an adventure?" "Some of us are ready," Emma said pointedly, looking at me. "Others look like zombies." "I'm not a morning person," I muttered, clutching my coffee. Marcus laughed and clapped me on the shoulder, a casual, friendly gesture that still sent electricity through me. "Get it together, Tyler. Don't worry, the trail's beautiful, you'll wake up once we start hiking." He handed me a backpack. "I brought you some gear, this should have everything you need." "Thanks man, I really appreciate it." "No problem, always happy to get someone new into hiking." His smile was genuine and warm, and I wanted to both hug him and run away. The drive north was actually pleasant. I ended up in Marcus's Jeep. Casey claimed his car was too full, though I suspected matchmaking, and we talked about everything and nothing. Work, movies we'd seen, a new ramen place that had opened downtown. "So Casey mentioned you and Sarah broke up," I said carefully about an hour into the drive. "How are you doing with that?" Marcus was quiet for a moment. "It's weird, honestly. We were together for 2 years and now she's just gone, not in a bad way, we're still friends, still text occasionally, but it's strange building a life with someone and then having to unbuild it." "Yeah, I get that. Daniel and I were only together for 6 months, but it still felt weird after." "Casey said you've been kind of isolated since then." "Casey needs to mind his business," I said, but without heat. "He worries about you, we all do." Marcus glanced at me. "You know you have people who care about you, right? You don't have to go through hard stuff alone." "I know, I'm better at processing things by myself, I guess." "Sometimes processing by yourself turns into hiding from yourself," Marcus said gently. "Trust me, I've been there." Something in his tone made me look at him more closely. "You doing okay, really?" "Yeah, I mean, I'm sad about Sarah, but it was the right call. Sometimes things don't work out even when they should on paper, you know." He paused. "Can I tell you something, and this stays between us?" "Of course." "I think part of why it didn't work with Sarah was that I never felt fully present, like I cared about her, maybe even loved her, but something was always held back. She felt it too. She actually said something before she left that's been eating at me." "What did she say?" "She said, 'I hope you figure out what you're really looking for, Marcus, because I don't think it was me.'" He gripped the steering wheel a little tighter. "And the hell of it is, I think she was right, I just have no idea what I am looking for." "That's a mindfuck," I said sympathetically. "Right? Like, how do you know what you want when what you thought you wanted turns out to be wrong?" "I think you just keep trying, keep being open, the right thing finds you eventually." "Yeah," he smiled at me, and something in that smile made my breath catch. "I hope you're right." We pulled into the trailhead parking lot around 8:30. The morning was beautiful, crisp and clear, with that particular quality of light that makes everything look sharp and alive. Casey and Emma pulled in right behind us, and we spent the next 20 minutes getting our packs organized, double-checking supplies, and applying sunscreen. "Everyone got water?" Marcus asked, sliding into what was clearly his experienced hiker mode. "Snacks, first aid kit is in my pack. Tyler, you good? That pack fit okay?" I adjusted the straps. "Yeah, feels good, though I reserve the right to complain after mile 3. "Duly noted," he grinned. "All right team, let's do this." And we started hiking. The first hour was gorgeous. The trail wound through dense forest, dappled sunlight filtering through the canopy. Birds sang. A creek burbled somewhere nearby. Casey and Emma walked ahead, holding hands and occasionally stopping to take photos. Marcus and I fell into an easy rhythm behind them. "You do a lot of hiking?" I asked. "Started about 6 months ago. Sarah and I tried it together, but she wasn't really into it. But I kind of fell in love with it, the quiet, the way it clears your head. It's meditative." "I can see that, it's beautiful out here." "Just wait until we get to the summit. The view is supposed to be incredible." We talked as we walked, about work, about photography. Marcus was still into it, had actually sold a few prints recently, about our families. I learned that his parents were pressuring him about settling down, getting married, giving them grandchildren. "Asian parent expectations are no joke," he said with a laugh. "My mom keeps sending me profiles of nice Chinese girls she finds on social media. I'm like, Mom, that's not how dating works anymore." Do you want that, the whole marriage and kids thing? Eventually, maybe? I don't know. I thought I did with Sarah, but when I really examined it, I realized I was just going through the motions of what I thought I should want, which is a terrible reason to build a life with someone. What do you actually want? Marcus was quiet for a long moment, navigating around a tricky section of the trail. I want to feel sure. Does that make sense? I want to be with someone and know deep in my bones that this is right, not that it's comfortable or expected or good on paper, but that it's right, that it's real. That makes perfect sense. Did you feel that with Daniel? No, I admitted. I wanted to. He was great, smart, funny, attractive, but that spark, that certainty, it wasn't there. I think we both knew it. What about before him? Have you ever felt it? I thought about the question, had I ever felt that bone-deep certainty about someone? The answer came immediately, yes, with Marcus, which was precisely the problem. Once I said carefully, but it wasn't an option. Why not? Because they didn't feel the same way. It wasn't quite a lie. That sucks, I'm sorry. It's okay, you learn to live with it. Marcus looked at me with something I couldn't quite read in his expression. Do you, though, learn to live with it? What's the alternative? I don't know, be brave enough to say something. And risk losing them completely. Sometimes silence is safer. Maybe, Marcus said softly, but it's also lonelier. We hiked in companionable quiet after that, the conversation having gotten heavier than either of us expected. Around mile 4, we stopped for lunch at a clearing with a view of the valley below. Casey pulled out sandwiches Emma had made, and we all sat on some rocks, eating and hydrating and giving our legs a break. How you holding up, Tyler? Emma asked. Better than expected, actually. I think I'm getting my second wind. See, nature is healing, Casey declared dramatically. Don't get cocky, we're not even halfway there yet. Marcus was sitting next to me, close enough that our shoulders occasionally touched. At one point, he pulled out his camera and started taking photos of the view. Then, without asking, he turned and took a photo of me. Hey, I protested. Sorry, the light was perfect. You looked contemplative and artistic. He showed me the photo. I had to admit it was good. The sunlight caught my profile just right and I didn't look half as tired as I felt. You're still really good at this, I said. Thanks, I find people make the best subjects. Landscapes are beautiful, but people have stories in their faces. What story does my face tell? He studied the photo, then looked at me directly. Someone who's thinking too much, someone who's holding something back. My heart skipped. That's oddly specific. Am I wrong? No, I admitted, you're not wrong. We reached the lake around 3 p.m., tired but triumphant, and Marcus had been right, it was absolutely stunning. The water was crystal clear, surrounded by pine trees with mountains rising in the distance. The campsite was small and secluded, with a fire ring and a few flat spots for tents. This is incredible, Emma breathed. Right, told you it'd be worth it. Marcus dropped his pack and stretched, his shirt riding up slightly. I deliberately looked away. We spent the next hour setting up camp. Casey and Emma claimed one side of the clearing for their tent. Marcus started setting up his tent on the other side, then looked at me. You want to share? I've got a 2-person tent, unless you want your own space. Sharing a tent with Marcus? Great, totally fine, no problem whatsoever. Sharing's fine, I said, hopping. I sounded casual. No point in setting up 2 when we can just use 1. Cool, wanna help me with this? We worked together getting the tent up. Marcus was efficient and practiced, but he explained each step to me patiently. Our hands brushed a few times as we worked, and each time I felt that jolt of electricity. Get it together. Once camp was set up, Emma suggested we go swimming in the lake. The water was cold but refreshing, and after 8 miles of hiking, it felt amazing. We splashed around like kids, Casey and Emma being disgustingly cute together, while Marcus and I ended up in an impromptu splash fight that left us both laughing and breathless. As the sun started to lower, we got out and dried off. Marcus pulled on a hoodie and sat on a rock near the shore, and I found myself sitting next to him without really thinking about it. This was a good idea, I said. Coming out here, I needed it. Yeah, glad you came. Surprisingly, yes. Surprisingly, huh? He bumped my shoulder with his. Have a little faith in your friends, Tyler. I have faith, I'm just usually bad at, actually letting myself need people. I've noticed, Marcus said quietly, you're always there for everyone else but you never let anyone be there for you. Is this an intervention? I tried to joke, but it came out softer than intended. No, just an observation from someone who does the same thing. He looked out at the lake. It's easier to focus on other people's problems than deal with your own, right? What problems are you avoiding dealing with? Marcus was quiet for a long moment. The sun was setting now, painting everything in shades of orange and pink. I think I've been lying to myself, he said finally, about what I want, who I want for a long time. My heart started beating faster. What do you mean? He turned to look at me and there was something in his eyes, vulnerability, fear, hope. Tyler, can I ask you something, and can you promise to be honest? Okay, I said, my mouth suddenly dry. That person you mentioned, the one you had feelings for but couldn't tell, are they? He stopped, seeming to gather courage. Is it me? The world seemed to stop. I could hear my heartbeat in my ears, feel the cooling evening air on my skin, see the way Marcus was looking at me, nervous and hopeful and absolutely beautiful. I could lie, I could laugh it off, make a joke, deflect, protect our friendship, protect myself. Or I could be brave. Yes, I whispered, it's you, it's been you for over a year. Marcus let out a shaky breath, but he didn't look away. How long have you known? That I had feelings for you since about 3 months after we met, that I was in love with you, probably since last summer. Last summer, the photography exhibit. I nodded. We'd gone to see a photography exhibit together, spent hours walking around the gallery, talking about composition and light and meaning. Marcus had been so passionate, so animated, and I'd realized with stunning clarity that I was absolutely gone for this man. Why didn't you say anything? Marcus asked. Because you were straight, you had a girlfriend, and you were my friend, Marcus. I couldn't risk ruining that. What if I told you, he said slowly, carefully, that I'm not sure I'm as straight as I thought I was? My heart stopped. What? I think that's what Sarah meant when she said I wasn't fully present, that I didn't know what I was really looking for. He turned his body toward me fully now. Tyler, I've been having these feelings for months, maybe longer, but I kept pushing them down because they didn't fit the story I'd been telling myself about who I was. Feelings, I repeated, barely breathing. For you, his voice was soft but steady. I've been drawn to you since we met, but I convinced myself it was just friendship, that I just thought you were cool, interesting, but it's more than that. It's always been more than that, I just didn't let myself see it. I stared at him, unable to process what I was hearing. Marcus. Are you saying? I'm saying I think about you constantly. I make excuses to hang out with you. When something good happens, you're the first person I want to tell. When Casey mentioned you were coming on this trip, I was more excited than I've been about anything in months. He laughed shakily. I'm saying that I think I'm falling for you, or maybe I already have, and it's terrifying because I've never felt like this about a guy before and I don't know what I'm doing, but Tyler, I can't keep pretending. You're not straight, I said, still trying to wrap my head around this. I don't know what I am, bi maybe, still figuring it out, but I know I have feelings for you and they're real and I needed you to know. When did you realize? My voice came out as barely a whisper. I think part of me has known for a while, but I really confronted it about a month ago, right after Sarah and I broke up. I was lying in bed thinking about relationships and what went wrong, and all I could think about was you. How easy you are to talk to, how you make me laugh, how I feel more myself around you than I do with anyone else. He reached out tentatively and took my hand. How I want to hold your hand and kiss you and wake up next to you. This is real, I said, still half convinced I was dreaming. This is actually happening. It's real, Tyler. I know this is sudden and I know you have every right to be skeptical or want to take things slow. I'm figuring myself out and that's messy. But I needed you to know that my feelings are genuine. You're not a phase or an experiment. You're you and you're incredible, and I want to see where this could go if you want that too. I looked at our joined hands, then back up at his face. Marcus, my friend, my crush, the person I'd convinced myself I could never have, was looking at me with such open vulnerability that it took my breath away. I want that, I said. God, Marcus, I want that so much, but I'm scared. Of what? Of you figuring out this isn't what you want. Of losing you as a friend if this doesn't work out. Of falling even harder for you than I already have. Those are all valid fears, Marcus said, and I can't promise I won't be scared sometimes too, or that I'll have everything figured out, But Tyler, I can promise that I'll be honest with you, that I'll communicate, that I won't run away when things get hard. He squeezed my hand. And I can promise that what I feel right now is real. Okay, I breathed, okay. Yes. Yeah. Marcus smiled, that beautiful, radiant smile that had made me fall for him in the first place. Can I kiss you? Instead of answering, I closed the distance between us. Kissing Marcus was like coming home and jumping off a cliff simultaneously. His lips were soft and warm, and he kissed me with a tenderness that made my chest ache. It was gentle at first, tentative, both of us learning each other. Then it deepened, became more sure, and I felt his hand come up to cup my face. When we finally pulled apart, we were both breathing hard. Wow, Marcus said. Yeah. I've been wondering what that would feel like for months. And even better than I imagined. He pulled me closer, wrapping his arm around my shoulders. Is this okay? Can I just hold you for a bit? Please. We sat there on the rock as the sun set completely, wrapped around each other, watching the stars come out over the lake. Behind us, I could hear Casey and Emma at the campsite starting dinner, but here in this moment it was just us. Hey Tyler, Marcus said softly. Yes. Thank you for being brave enough to tell me the truth, even though I basically had to drag it out of you. I laughed. Thank you for being brave enough to figure yourself out, and for wanting to figure it out with me. Always, he promised and kissed my temple. Eventually, we had to rejoin the others. Casey took one look at us, probably at our joined hands and goofy smiles, and pumped his fist in the air. Finally, he shouted, Emma, you owe me $20. You bet on us? I asked, incredulous. Obviously, Emma said, hugging us both. You two have been dancing around each other for over a year. We've all been waiting for you to figure it out. Wait, everyone knew? Marcus asked. That Tyler was into you? Yeah, pretty obvious that you were into Tyler, but in denial about it. Also pretty obvious. Casey started pulling out dinner supplies. Seriously, you two were painful to watch. Marcus and I looked at each other and burst out laughing. Dinner was a celebration. Emma had packed ingredients for gourmet camping tacos, and we ate under the stars while Casey and Emma told embarrassing stories about each of us. Marcus kept finding excuses to touch me, a hand on my knee, an arm around my shoulders, fingers threading through mine. You okay? He murmured at one point, just for me. More than okay, this is the best day I've had in months. Same. After dinner, we built up the fire and sat around it, talking and joking like we always did. Except now Marcus was sitting next to me, close enough that our sides pressed together, his hand warm in mine. So what happens now? Emma asked. You two going to do the long-distance thing after the move? I froze. In all the excitement, I'd forgotten Marcus was supposed to be moving to Austin next month for a new job opportunity. We'd just gotten together and he was leaving. About that, Marcus said slowly, I've been thinking about the Austin thing. And Casey prompted. And I'm not sure I want to go anymore. He looked at me. There are good jobs here, my life is here, the people I care about are here. Marcus, you can't turn down a job for me, I said. We literally just got together, that's too much pressure. I'm not turning it down just for you, I'm turning it down because Austin never felt right, but I didn't have a good enough reason to say no. Now I do. Several reasons actually, but you're definitely the biggest one. Are you sure? I'm sure. Besides, there's a startup here that's been trying to recruit me for months. I could reach out to them. Do it, Casey said. Stay here, be happy, make out with Tyler at inappropriate times. Absolutely not in front of you, I said, but I was smiling. As the night grew late and the fire burned down, Casey and Emma headed to their tent. Marcus and I stayed up a bit longer, sitting close and talking quietly. Nervous about sharing a tent? Marcus asked. A little, I admitted. We don't have to do anything, I just want to fall asleep next to you if that's okay. That's more than okay. We banked the fire and headed to our tent. It was intimate, getting ready for bed in the small space, both of us in sleeping bags, the tent filled with the sound of our breathing. Marcus reached across the space between our sleeping bags and found my hand. This is going to sound sappy, he said in the darkness, but I'm really glad I came on this trip. Me too. And Tyler, I know I'm still figuring things out, but I need you to know that you're not a question mark for me, "You're the most certain thing I feel right now." I turned to face him even though I could barely make out his features in the darkness. "That's really sappy." "Shut up," he laughed. "But it's also really sweet." "Yes." "Yeah," I squeezed his hand. "Now go to sleep, Marcus, we've got 8 miles to hike out tomorrow." "Good night, Tyler." "Good night." I lay there in the darkness, listening to Marcus's breathing even out as he fell asleep, still holding my hand. And I thought about how strange life was, how you could go on a simple hiking trip and have your entire world shift. How the person you'd loved in silence could turn out to feel the same way. How sometimes the scariest leaps led to the softest landings. I fell asleep smiling. I woke up to sunlight filtering through the tent and the realization that I was significantly warmer than I'd been when I fell asleep. Also, I appeared to be cuddled up against Marcus, my head on his chest, his arm wrapped around me. At some point during the night, we'd apparently abandoned our individual sleeping bags in favor of sharing warmth. Marcus was still asleep, his face relaxed and peaceful, one hand resting on my back. This was real, this was actually happening. I stayed there for a few minutes, listening to his heartbeat, trying to memorize this feeling. Then Marcus stirred and I felt him tense slightly as he realized our position. "Morning," I said softly. "Morning," his arm tightened around me slightly. "This okay?" "Very okay." "Good, because I'm really comfortable and not ready to move yet." We lay there for a while longer, just existing in that peaceful morning space. Outside, I could hear Casey and Emma moving around, probably starting breakfast. "I guess we should get up," Marcus said reluctantly. "Probably." Neither of us moved. "Just 5 more minutes," Marcus said, and I felt him press a kiss to the top of my head. My heart melted completely. Eventually, we did have to emerge from the tent. Casey took one look at us and grinned like an idiot, but thankfully didn't say anything. Emma had made oatmeal and coffee, real coffee somehow, bless her, and we ate breakfast while planning our hike back. "Everyone feeling good?" Marcus asked, slipping into his outdoor leader mode. "We're going to take it easy today, no rush, we can take as many breaks as we need." The hike back was different from the hike in. For one thing, we were more tired. For another, Marcus and I kept falling behind the group, too caught up in conversation to keep pace. "Tell me something I don't know about you," Marcus said as we walked. "Who I can juggle." "Really?" 3 balls competently, 4 balls barely, 5 balls absolutely not. "I feel like there's a story there. I learned in summer camp when I was 12 because I was trying to impress a boy." "Did it work?" "Not even a little bit. He was straight and into soccer, not circus arts." I laughed. "What about you? What don't I know about you?" "I'm afraid of birds." "Birds, like all birds." "Mostly just the aggressive ones. I got attacked by a goose when I was 6 and I've been traumatized ever since." "Marcus, that's the most adorable thing I've ever heard." "It's not adorable, it's a serious phobia," but he was laughing. We talked about everything: childhoods, college years, dreams for the future. Marcus told me about his family, about growing up in California, about the pressure to be the perfect oldest son. I told him about my family, about coming out at 16, about my mom's initial struggle to accept it, and how she'd eventually become my biggest supporter. "Do you think your parents will be okay with this?" I asked. "With us?" Marcus was quiet for a moment. "Honestly, I don't know, they have pretty traditional expectations, but Tyler, I'm not going to hide this. I'm not going to hide you. If they have a problem with it, we'll deal with it together." "That's really brave." "Or really stupid, time will tell." He squeezed my hand. "But you're worth it." Around mile 4 of the hike back, we stopped for lunch at the same clearing where we'd stopped on the way in. As we ate, Marcus kept stealing glances at me, smiling every time our eyes met. "What?" I finally asked. "Nothing, I'm just really happy." "Yes." "Yeah, I feel like I've been holding my breath for months and I can finally exhale." Casey, who'd been eavesdropping shamelessly, said, "You two are disgustingly cute. I love it, but also it's a lot." "Oh, like you and Emma aren't exactly the same," I shot back. "We're adorable, thank you very much," Emma said primly. "But yes, also nauseating, we're aware." The last few miles flew by. By the time we reached the parking lot, I was exhausted, sweaty, and happier than I'd been in years. The drive back was quieter, everyone tired from the hike. I rode with Marcus again and we spent most of the trip holding hands across the center console, talking softly or just enjoying the comfortable silence. What happens now? I asked as we got closer to the city, with us. What do you want to happen? I want to date you, I want to see where this goes, I want to not overthink it and just be. Marcus smiled. I want all of that too. Can we take it one day at a time, figure things out as we go? Yeah, one day at a time sounds perfect. When we got back to my apartment, Marcus helped me unload my gear. As he was about to leave, he pulled me into a hug. Thank you for this weekend, he said into my hair, for being patient with me, for being honest, for giving this a chance. Thank you for being brave enough to figure yourself out, and for choosing me. He pulled back to look at me. Can I take you to dinner tomorrow, like an actual date? I would love that. Good, he kissed me softly, sweetly, right there in front of my apartment. I'll pick you up at 7. It's a date. I watched him drive away, then went inside where Casey was waiting with a knowing grin. So he said, want to talk about it? Not really, I kind of just want to sit with it for a bit. Fair, but Tyler, I'm really happy for you, both of you, you deserve this. Thanks, Case. That night, I lay in bed thinking about the past 48 hours. How I'd gone on a hiking trip expecting nothing more than fresh air and exercise and come back with everything I'd been afraid to hope for. My phone buzzed, a text from Marcus, can't stop thinking about you, is that weird? I smiled and typed back, not weird, I'm thinking about you too. Good sweet dreams, Tyler. Sweet dreams. I fell asleep easier than I had in months. The next few weeks were a blur of discovery and joy. Marcus and I went on that first date dinner at a cozy Italian place where we talked for hours and closed down the restaurant. He walked me home, kissed me goodnight at my door, and I floated into my apartment like a lovesick teenager. We saw each other almost every day after that. Sometimes it was planned dates to museums, movies, his favorite coffee shop. Sometimes it was spontaneous, him showing up at my apartment with takeout after a long day, me meeting him at the climbing gym to watch him scale walls like it was the easiest thing in the world. We told our friends officially at our next group dinner. Everyone cheered. Tessa, another friend from our extended group, demanded to know who made the first move, and we spent the evening fielding questions and good-natured teasing. So Marcus, Dev asked with a grin, you're telling us you just suddenly realized you're into dudes? Not suddenly and not dudes plural, just this dude specifically. Marcus squeezed my hand under the table. I'm still figuring out the labels, but I know what I feel and I'm not questioning that. That's beautiful, man, Dev said sincerely. Really happy for you both. The physical side of our relationship developed gradually. Marcus was nervous at first, this was all new territory for him, but he was also eager and enthusiastic, which was both adorable and extremely attractive. Tell me if I'm doing something wrong, he'd say, kissing down my neck. You're doing everything right, I'd assure him, pulling him closer. We spent hours just kissing, touching, learning each other's bodies and preferences. Marcus was attentive and communicative, always checking in, always making sure I was okay with where things were going. This is okay, he'd ask. More than okay. Good, because I've been thinking about this constantly. About 3 weeks into our relationship, Marcus invited me over to his apartment for dinner. He cooked surprisingly well and we ate on his couch, pressed close together, watching a documentary about wildlife photography. I have something to tell you, Marcus said during a quiet moment. My stomach dropped. Okay. I reached out to that startup I mentioned, the one that's been trying to recruit me. He paused. They made me an offer, a really good offer, better than the Austin job in a lot of ways. Marcus, that's amazing. I'm going to take it, which means I'm staying here in New York with you. I kissed him deeply, pouring all my relief and happiness into it. When we broke apart, we were both breathless. Stay over tonight, Marcus said. I want to wake up next to you. Yes. Yeah. That night was the first time we really slept together, just slept, wrapped up in each other in Marcus's bed. It felt intimate and perfect and right in a way I'd never experienced before. I could get used to this, Marcus murmured into my hair. Me too. About a month and a half into our relationship, Marcus decided it was time to tell his parents about us. "I want to do it in person," he said. "It feels too important for a phone call. Can you come with me to San Francisco to meet your parents while you come out to them?" "I know it's a lot to ask." "I'm there," I interrupted. "Of course I'm there." The flight to San Francisco was tense. Marcus kept bouncing his leg, a nervous habit I'd learned to recognize. I took his hand and squeezed. "It's going to be okay," I said, trying to sound confident. "What if they don't accept it? What if they reject me? Then we deal with it together." "But Marcus, they love you. That doesn't just disappear." His parents' house was in the suburbs, a beautiful modern home with a meticulously maintained garden. Mrs. Chen answered the door, immediately pulling Marcus into a hug and exclaiming in Mandarin. Mr. Chen appeared behind her, clasping Marcus's shoulder in greeting. Then they turned to me. "Mom, Dad, this is Tyler, my boyfriend." The silence that followed felt endless. I watched Mrs. Chen's face cycle through surprise, confusion, and something I couldn't quite read. Mr. Chen's expression was more controlled, but I could see the tension in his jaw. "Your boyfriend," Mrs. Chen repeated slowly. "Yes, we've been dating for about 6 weeks. Tyler's been my friend for over a year, but recently we realized it was more than that." Marcus's voice was steady, even though I could feel him trembling slightly. "I know this isn't what you expected. I know you had different plans for me, but I need you to know that I'm happy, really happy, for the first time in a long time." Mr. Chen spoke in Mandarin, a long string of words that I couldn't understand, but that made Marcus's face tighten. Marcus responded in the same language, his tone firm but respectful. "In English, please," Mrs. Chen said quietly. "It's rude to exclude our guest." "Dad was asking if this is a phase, if I'm confused." Marcus looked at his father. "I'm not confused, Dad. I'm bisexual. I'm attracted to people of different genders, and I'm in a relationship with Tyler because he's an incredible person who I care about deeply." "We had expectations," Mr. Chen said stiffly. "Grandchildren, a traditional family." "I know, and I'm sorry if this is disappointing to you, but I can't live my life based on what you want me to be. I have to be who I actually am." Mrs. Chen was quiet, studying me. Then she said, "Tyler, you make my son happy." "I try my best, Mrs. Chen." "Call me Linda," she looked at Marcus. "Your father and I need time to process this. It's a surprise, but Marcus, you're our son, that doesn't change." It wasn't perfect acceptance, but it was a start. The rest of the weekend was awkward but not hostile. Linda asked me questions about my life, my family, my work. Mr. Chen was quieter, more reserved, but he wasn't cruel. By the time we left, there was a tentative peace. "That went better than I expected," Marcus said on the flight home. "Your mom seems like she's trying." "She is. My dad will take longer, but he'll come around. He always does eventually." Marcus leaned his head on my shoulder. "Thank you for being there. I couldn't have done that without you." "Yes, you could have, but I'm glad I was there anyway." 6 months into our relationship, Marcus and I decided to move in together. It was slightly terrifying and completely perfect. We found a one-bedroom in Park Slope, small but bright with exposed brick and big windows. Moving day was chaos. Our friends helped. There was too much pizza and not enough organization, and at one point Casey and Dev got into an argument about the optimal way to pack a moving truck. But at the end of the day, it was just us in our apartment, surrounded by boxes, exhausted and happy. "We have an apartment," Marcus said, looking around. "We have an apartment," I agreed. "Want to christen it properly?" "Are you suggesting?" "I'm suggesting we order Thai food and fall asleep on our mattress on the floor because we're too tired to do anything else." I laughed. "That's the least romantic thing you've ever said." "Shut up, you love it." "I do, I really do." Living together was an adjustment. We learned each other's habits. Marcus was a morning person, I wasn't. I was neurotic about keeping the kitchen clean. Marcus was more relaxed. He liked to fall asleep to nature documentaries. I preferred complete silence. But we also learned how to compromise, how to communicate, how to build a life together. One night, about 2 months after moving in, we were lying in bed together, Marcus playing with my hair while I scrolled through my phone. "Hey, Tyler." "Yes." "I love you." I turned to look at him, my heart suddenly racing. "Yeah." Yeah, I've known for a while, but I wanted to be sure. I wanted to know it was real and not just infatuation or excitement. He cupped my face gently. But I'm sure now I love you, the way you're passionate about your work, the way you care about people, the way you make me laugh even when I'm having the worst day, the way you're patient with me while I figure myself out. I love all of it. I love you. I love you too, I said, my voice cracking slightly. I've loved you for so long, Marcus. Even when I thought I couldn't have you, I loved you. He kissed me then, soft and deep and full of promise. Our 1-year anniversary fell on a Saturday in June. Marcus insisted on keeping his plans a surprise, which made me both excited and nervous. Just dress comfortably, he said, and be ready by 8 a.m. You know I hate mornings. I know, but you're going to love this, I promise. He picked me up at 8 on the dot, looking adorable in hiking clothes and carrying 2 backpacks. We're going hiking, I guessed. We're going back to where it all started. The drive took 2 hours and I realized where we were going: Blue Ridge Summit, the same trail we'd hiked a year ago when everything changed. You're sentimental, I teased. I prefer romantic, Marcus countered, but yes, extremely sentimental. The hike was familiar but different. We weren't the same people we'd been a year ago. Marcus was more comfortable in his identity, more settled in himself. I was happier, more open, more willing to be vulnerable. We reached the lake around midday. The campsite was empty. Marcus had somehow arranged for us to have it to ourselves. How did you pull this off? I asked. I have my ways. He started unpacking lunch: fancy sandwiches from our favorite deli, fresh fruit, chocolate cake from the bakery I loved. We ate and talked about the past year, the highs and lows, the challenges and joys. Marcus told me about how much he'd grown, how much more authentic he felt living as his true self. I told him how he'd changed my life, how loving him had taught me to be braver. After lunch, Marcus pulled out his camera, the same one he'd used to photograph me on our first trip. I want to recreate that photo from last year, he said, except this time you're not holding back, this time you're mine. He took several photos of me by the lake, the light catching the water behind me. Then he set the camera on a timer and came to join me, wrapping his arms around me from behind. I have one more surprise, Marcus said as the camera clicked. Marcus, this whole day is a surprise. I know, but this is the big one. He turned me to face him, taking both my hands in his. Tyler, this past year has been the best year of my life. You've been patient with me while I figured myself out. You've supported me, challenged me, loved me even when I was scared. You've become my best friend, my partner, my home. My heart was pounding. I know we're still young, I know we're still figuring things out, but I also know that I want to figure it out with you, always. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small box. Tyler James Anderson, will you marry me? I stared at the ring, simple, elegant, perfect, then at Marcus's hopeful, nervous face. Yes, I breathed, yes, absolutely yes. He slid the ring onto my finger, then pulled me into a kiss that felt like coming home, like jumping off a cliff, like every perfect moment we'd ever shared distilled into one. When we broke apart, we were both crying and laughing. You planned this whole thing, I said, the hike, the location, everything. I wanted it to be perfect. I wanted to ask you at the place where our story really began. It's so perfect, I assured him. You're perfect, this is perfect. We spent the night at the campsite. Marcus had packed everything we needed. As we lay in our tent under the stars, engaged now, I thought about how much had changed in a year, how a simple hiking trip had transformed my entire life. What are you thinking about? Marcus asked, pulling me closer. Just how lucky I am that I went on that hike, that you were brave enough to confront your feelings, that we found each other. I'm the lucky one, Marcus said. Tyler, you've given me the courage to be myself, to live authentically, to love without fear. That's the greatest gift anyone's ever given me. We're both lucky then. Deal, he kissed my forehead. Now go to sleep, fiancé, we've got 8 miles to hike out tomorrow. I smiled against his chest. Good night, fiancé. Good night. We got married the following spring back at Blue Ridge Summit. Our friends and family hiked up to the lake with us. It was beautiful chaos. Casey was Marcus's best man, Emma was my maid of honor, and Dev officiated after getting ordained online specifically for us. Marcus's parents came, and while his father was still somewhat reserved, his mother cried happy tears and told me I was part of the family now. My parents doted on Marcus, and my mom pulled me aside to tell me how proud she was of me, of us. We exchanged vows standing by the lake where Marcus had first kissed me, where he'd proposed, where our story really began. Tyler, Marcus said, his voice thick with emotion. You taught me that it's never too late to discover who you really are. That love doesn't fit into boxes or follow prescribed paths. You've been my best friend, my partner, my home. I promise to love you, support you, challenge you, and choose you every single day for the rest of our lives. Marcus, I said, my own voice shaking, you changed my entire world. You took a leap of faith when you didn't have to, and you've been brave enough to build a life with me despite all the uncertainty. You've shown me what it means to be loved exactly as I am. I promise to be patient with you, to grow with you, to adventure with you, and to love you fiercely for as long as I live. When we kissed, our friends erupted in cheers, and I felt Marcus smile against my lips. The reception was back at the campsite, casual and perfect, with music and dancing and terrible camp food that tasted amazing because we were surrounded by everyone we loved. As the sun set and the stars came out, Marcus and I snuck away to the rock where we'd had our first real conversation, where everything had shifted. My husband, Marcus said, trying out the word. My husband, I repeated, loving how it sounded. Think we'll still come back here in 10 years, 20. Definitely, this place is ours, our beginning. Our beginning, Marcus agreed, pulling me close, and everything that comes after. We sat there under the stars, two people who'd started as friends, who'd taken a chance on an uncertain hike, who'd been brave enough to admit what they really felt. Two people who'd built something beautiful out of honesty and courage and love. Sometimes the person you're looking for is the friend who's been right there all along. Sometimes discovering love means discovering yourself. Sometimes all it takes is one hike, one honest conversation, one leap of faith. And sometimes, if you're very lucky, your straight friend turns out not to be so straight after all, and everything changes in the best possible way. For everyone who's ever loved their friend in secret, for everyone who's discovered their identity later than they expected, for everyone who's taken the scary leap of being honest about what they really feel, this is for you. Love finds us in unexpected places at unexpected times with unexpected people. The key is being brave enough to recognize it and to leap. The end. While this story is fictional, the emotions and experiences depicted, late-blooming sexuality, falling for a friend, the fear and joy of new love, are based on real experiences shared by many in the LGBTQ+ community. If you're going through something similar, know that you're not alone and your timeline is valid. There's no right way to discover who you are or who you love.